Well, well, well. It was only a matter of time, wasn't it? Well, go on then. Don't be nervous. No need to play coy. Yes, the rumours are true. I am indeed the Hornblower. I did, in fact, blow the legendary horn of Valir, that fall, turning the tide of the battle. Oh, you want to thank me? Well, that's very kind. It's completely unnecessary of you. Oh, but you insist. A gesture of gratitude, if I must. Well, it's true that my station in life has changed, but at the end of the day, I'm a simple man of simple pleasures. A comfy bed, plenty of ale, a cheeky game of dice, when the odds are in my favour.
This teaser gives us behind-the-scenes footage, actual new shots, and a sprinkle of marketing just for us fans. Matt's new and improved personality certainly shines through. Let's unravel it to see what we can find. This is Unraveling the Pattern. I'm Lauren. Thanks to these wonderful YouTube and Patreon supporters. Spoilers in the description. Let's go. After removing the title bumpers and the Season 2 shots of Matt blowing the horn, we're left with 20 new shots. 10 of them show Donal Finn as Matt Cawthon talking, or rather flirting, directly with us through the camera in an office-style interview.
I think that pretty much sums it up.
This background is likely part of the IO Waste set in Cape Town, but before you get too excited, this doesn't mean Matt is actually going there. Prime has used sets for interviews before, even when the characters never step foot there in the show. We know the last parts of Season 3 were shot in Cape Town, including parts of the IO Waste for Rand, Moiraine, Lan, and probably Egwene, as well as other scenes shot in Cape Town on Tanchico sets with Nynaeve, Matt, Elayne, and Min. I talked more about this in my recent Tanchico Unraveled video. Now, it's possible that somehow Matt will end up in the IO Waste by the end of the season, but I'm not holding my breath. All evidence leads to him and the girls in Tanchico, Perrin in the Two Rivers, and Rand and Moiraine and the others in the IO Waste by the end of the season. Though these interviews were likely shot at the end of Season 3, Matt is wearing his clothing that will be featured at the very start of Season 3. Now, I know analyzing Matt's clothes in the show is a fool's errand, considering that he pretty much wore the same dirty robe for 2 full seasons, but we've seen promotional images of Season 3 with Matt in different clothes. This one is confirmed to take place in Tanchico in Episode 6. I'm sure they dressed him in this outfit for this fake promotional interview intentionally, so that he'd match these shots from earlier in the season. I tried to get a good look at Matt's rings, hoping to possibly spy a fox head, but alas, the video quality is too poor to make out any clear details. I love that Prime makes these little teasers for us, but as someone who makes videos for a living, I get a little annoyed by the low-quality videos this multi-billion-dollar company puts out. Unless, of course, they do this intentionally so we can't find every single detail before the show even comes out. We Wheel of Time fans are just a little bit obsessive. Speaking of obsession, let's unravel these 10 new shots. These 2 shots and this one appear to go together. I think these 3 in the end also take place in the same location, but at a different time, which we'll get to. This shows Matt posing for a self-portrait with the Horn of Valir, somewhere in Tar Valon. I'm so glad that the horn didn't disappear after the Season 2 finale, where this hero sort of just cartooned it away. Many of us fans have been wondering not only where it went, but whether or not it would stay with Matt and the group. Now that I think about it, Matt is probably going back to the White Tower, as shown in these other shots, because he is the horn sounder. I'm sure the Aes Sedai will want to take the horn from him too.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
The fact that he calls himself the Hornblower in this teaser is perfect to me, because it sounds exactly like the kind of thing Matt would tell a woman to try to impress her. After all, horn sounder is way too much of a turnoff. The close-up of the sketch shows Matt looking muscular and heroic, which is so funny to me. This is a great reversal of the storyline from the books, where sketches of Rand fighting Ishamael in the skies above Falme spread around the world against Rand's wishes. Here, it appears that Matt commissioned this artist himself and is almost seeking fame and notoriety, which I find hilarious and endearing, especially because he seems so self-involved at this point, but others around him almost seem embarrassed. Nobody outside is giving him any attention. As a matter of fact, the people appear to be distracted by something out on the street. All of their backs are turned away from Matt, adding to the humor for me. Even this guy is covering his face, possibly in embarrassment, seemingly wishing to be anywhere else but here with Matt. Except, clearly not everyone is ashamed to be with Matt.
No! I was ashamed to be seen with you. I like being with you.
Rand is just barely visible for a couple of frames here at the start of this shot, looking on with a smile. This confirms to me that this episode 1 promotional image of the 3 boys certainly takes place in Tar Valon. The image shows Perrin offering a mug to Mat. In this shot, we see all 3 of their hands clinking the same mugs together as Mat smiles. I love the callback to Season 1, Episode 1, when the boys were happy together, though Mat's luck seems to have changed since then. Now maybe he's the one with the money, buying the drinks. He does mention in the voiceover that the odds finally seem to be in his favor. I can't wait to see Mat winning at dice. While I was in Prague visiting the Tar Valon set, I was too rushed to capture footage of this location, but luckily other content creators were there. Nablus just posted a video featuring some interior footage of this same spot, confirming that this is 100% happening in Tar Valon. In my promo image breakdown, I speculated that Moraine has the group laying low in Tar Valon, but now I'm thinking they aren't trying to hide at all. Clearly, Mat is telling anybody who will listen about what happened in Foam. I have theories about this and the new order of events for Season 3, which I'll discuss at the end of the video. While I originally thought that these scratches on Mat's neck in the teaser could come from a possible hanging or even being attacked by playing cards during a bubble of evil like in the books, I have to give props to my YouTube commenters who theorized that these markings probably came from a game of Maiden's Kiss. This scene seems to confirm Mat will play Maiden's Kiss, a game where Aiel maidens test his kissing skills at spear point. It's a fun nod to the books, though a bit problematic by today's standards. But hey, this version of Mat could probably use a little humbling. This scene with the maidens and with Loial in the background has been cause for some debate among fans, particularly because the lion in the stained glass window here is the symbol for Andor. We see this same symbol on the Andoran banners and on the Queen's clothing in this promotional image. But don't let these lions fool you. I'm certain this scene takes place in Tar Valon at the same inn from these earlier shots. I think this confirms my theory that they're staying in the show's version of the Queen's Blessing, which is called the Light's Blessing and is in Tar Valon instead of in Andor. Could this person behind Mat here be Basil Gill, the innkeeper who was briefly shown in Season 1? Actually brightening up this shot, I think this is Perrin back here. It's tough to tell, but I think this person has a beard, and I think this shirt matches Perrin's undershirt from this promotional still. I also believe the bar behind Mat is the same bar that we see in this image. Also, this lamp here matches these lamps on the tables from these other images, only this one is upside down. Did you notice the playing cards on the bar here? Though these could just be coasters, I love the idea that we could still get some version of Mat's Bubble of Evil where he's attacked by playing cards. Perhaps that's what will stop him from being forced to fully play Maiden's Kiss at this moment. What do you think? Do you think we'll see Mat's Bubble of Evil play out like in the books? The most compelling detail to me here is that the windows behind the maidens do seem to match the patterns in the window behind Rand in this shot from the teaser, where he's experiencing his Bubble of Evil, fighting against reflections of himself. The windows aren't a one-to-one match, but they're certainly the same style, and we fans haven't been able to place these windows in any other scenes from the show until now. I'm now convinced that the Bubbles of Evil scene from the teaser will take place either later in Episode 1 or possibly very early in Episode 2. I'll talk more about that at the end. Next, we get this great sequence of shots where Mat is in the Tower Gardens. He fumbles with the practice swords and then awkwardly picks one up. It's very likely that this is an introduction to his fight with Galad and hopefully Gawain. You can see an Andoran guard with a spear-like weapon behind Mat here. A novice appears to be looking at someone behind Mat, and this person in red, possibly a tower servant or even an Aes Sedai, literally is about to bite her fist as she gazes at whoever is behind Mat. If it isn't Galad, I'll eat my hat. I love the juxtaposition of Mat's confident voiceover, talking about how his station in life has changed, on top of this scene where he fumbles with the swords and clearly doesn't have any of the girls' attention. One of the most endearing elements of Mat's personality in the books is that he sees himself very differently from how others see him. He's one of my favorite characters because his internal monologue is almost always completely opposed to his actions and how he is perceived by others, which makes for some entertaining reading. I feel this teaser proves the showrunners understand Mat. Anyway, we know that we'll be getting some version of Mat fighting against Galad, and possibly Gawain, which is one of the best sequences in The Dragon Reborn, Book 3, but that it might be different from how it's portrayed in the book. I saw one person speculate that Mat will actually lose his fight against them in the show, as this teaser suggests Mat's ego needs to be taken down a notch. While I totally get that sentiment, I personally would be crushed if we don't get to see Mat absolutely destroying Galad with a quarterstaff. I noticed that this rack definitely matches the same rack of practice swords that Nynaeve used in Season 2, but I also noticed there's no sign of a quarterstaff, and Mat picks up a sword, which honestly had me a bit worried at first. Here's my theory for how this could play out. We see Mat awkwardly raise a practice sword here, and nobody is paying attention to him. But what if he wants the attention of some of the women in this garden, and so he foolishly challenges Galad to a sword fight and then loses? Before you riot or leave an angry comment, hear me out. Notice this Andorian guard here has a spear-like weapon, very similar to a quarterstaff and to Matt's iconic weapon from the books. What if Matt first loses against Galad in a one-on-one sword fight, but then he borrows this weapon or one like it from a guard and challenges both Galad and Gawain in a double or nothing rematch? Then we could get the iconic scene from the book. I could even see Matt intentionally fumbling the swords and losing up front as a way to seem less capable so he can bet and win more money. Do you think that's possible or likely? Whatever they do, I hope they do this scene justice. Finally, this little shot seems to confirm that Matt will be staying in the White Tower and that he'll be showing off the horn to at least one novice. I don't know who this novice is, but I like the theory that this could be Elsa Grinwell or possibly Lanfear in disguise. The details that get me the most excited in this scene are the many empty plates and cups on the table here. This version of Matt seems to have no hangups from the Shadar Logoth dagger, but I'm personally very hopeful that we'll get more resolution for Matt and the dagger in Season 3. And believe it or not, these plates add to my hope. I made a whole video about some of the unresolved mysteries from Seasons 1 and 2, specifically related to Matt, the Shadar Logoth dagger, and Pat and Fane, where I discuss this more. In The Dragon Reborn, Matt is fully healed from his connection to the dagger by a group of Aes Sedai, and then he is required to stay in the tower until he recovers, or at least that's what they tell him. He has a ravenous appetite and eats a ton of food for several days straight as he recovers. During that time, he's visited by Lanfear, as well as by Nynaeve, Egwene, and Elayne. Perhaps Matt is turning his head to see the girls entering his room at this moment. What do you think? Will the show provide me the closure I'm desperately hoping for? Let's talk a bit about how I think the story order will play out now that we have these additional scenes. Keep in mind this is total speculation and I don't have any insider information that hasn't already been made public. But if you want to avoid possible Season 3 story details, you might want to like the video now and then head out. At the start of the season, Egwene and Nynaeve will already be back at the White Tower, since we know Nynaeve will be in the cold open scene where she will testify against Liandrin in the hall of the tower. The Black Aja will attack the Amerlin and will escape. After the attack and the explosion at the White Tower, Moiraine will leave the rest of the group behind at the Light's Blessing Inn to investigate. If you're wondering where these ideas are coming from, the Season 3 cold open was shown to a group of fans in Brazil. I discussed this further in this video. Anyway, in the first couple of episodes, I think Swan, and possibly Moiraine, will recruit Nynaeve and Egwene and possibly Elayne to hunt the Black Aja. Egwene will take her accepted test and learn more about the world of dreams. She'll meet a wise one in Teleron Riyadh, probably Melaine or Bear, who will tell her to come to the Waste. Just like in many of the early books, I believe Rand will think he won against the Dark One in Falme, which is why everyone appears to be so happy and laid back at the start. With Moiraine away investigating the explosion, they'll get into some trouble. Matt will start telling everyone who will listen about Falme and being the Hornblower, and he'll even commission someone to draw him as a hero. Aviendha and Elayne will also get to know each other better. At some point, Rand will go to his room where he'll be visited by a woman, probably Lanfear. I believe these shots and possibly this promotional image of Lanfear all take place around this same time. It makes sense that Lanfear would visit him as soon as Moiraine leaves the inn, though she could also be visiting the Black Aja or causing other trouble around the city. Anyway, while Rand and his visitor are in his room, Matt and Perrin will still be in the common room, where Matt will be humbled by a game of Maiden's Kiss with Bane and Chia. Perrin and Loial will likely hear rumors in the common room about White Cloaks in the Two Rivers. Then comes the attack, either bubbles of evil or more likely something coordinated by the Forsaken. Rand and his visitor will be attacked by his reflections, and at the same time, Matt and Perrin will be attacked in the common room, possibly by playing cards and or by a rogue weapon. Moiraine will arrive back at the inn to see them all in shambles. These events will likely be the catalyst that forces the group to separate once again. Rand will realize that his job is not finished and that the Dark One and the Forsaken are still out there, and so he will go with Moiraine and Lan, and probably Egwene, to the Aiel Waste to fulfill his destiny. Perrin will head to the Two Rivers, probably with Loial and Bane and Chiad. Matt will likely go back to the White Tower because he is the Horn Sounder, and also possibly because he might yet need to be healed from his connection to the Shadar Logoth dagger, as already discussed. The two big mysteries to me are Elayne and Aviendha. I'm convinced this scene likely takes place at the same inn where Matt and the others are staying, as we know it also happens in episode 1. And I'm sure Elayne will eventually return to the White Tower, but I'm not sure when it will happen, possibly not until episode 2 when her mother and Elaida arrive there. I do hope Elayne will reunite with her mother and brothers, and will also hopefully take her accepted test before being recruited by Swan to hunt the Black Aja. I worry that something bad could happen to Queen Morgase, as we see this scene of Elayne putting on her mother's crown in the teaser. But she's also still in Novice White, which has me concerned that she might not take her accepted test, or at least not before this. Perhaps in episode 2 or 3, Elaida will seek to overthrow Swan, and the tower coup will lead to Nynaeve and Elayne fleeing the tower and chasing after Liandrin and the Black Aja to Tanchico. I wouldn't be surprised if Lanfear is partially involved in helping the girls to discover where Liandrin went. We know Matt will also go to Tanchico, but I'm hopeful that he'll go later, after escaping from the tower and hopefully spending some time gambling in Tar Valon. I'm hopeful that Matt will overhear a plot to kill the girls from Lord Gabriel, who we know is cast in the season, which will then cause Matt to chase after them in an attempt to save them. Hopefully he'll also find Tom along the way. But what about Aviendha? Many people assume she will return to the Aiel Waste with Rand and the others, but I'm not convinced. It was assumed that this person in the teaser was Aviendha, but this recent promotional still shows that this is Melindra. Also, this shot of a single Maiden of the Spear from the teaser was assumed to be Aviendha as well. But look at her Cadansor. I believe these sort of rope-like strips don't match Aviendha's clothing, but rather it seems to match Melindra's clothing. Since the show is changing Melindra's backstory to be of Malkieri descent and then adopted into an Aiel clan, I believe this shot could be related to more of her backstory. I love the theory that perhaps Lan's new sword will come from Melindra. Back to Aviendha, I think she might join Perrin in place of Gaul, along with Bane and Chiad, and they will all head to the Two Rivers. Season 2 certainly replaced Gaul with Aviendha, so it makes sense to me that she would continue to honor her debt to Perrin and help him at the Two Rivers. Now I know what you're thinking. Aviendha is crucial to Rand's storyline in the Waste, and I agree, but I'm not entirely convinced that the show is going to focus much on Rand and Aviendha's relationship. Instead, I think Aviendha might have more of a connection with Elayne, who will in turn love Rand. What do you think of these theories? What's your favorite part of this Matt teaser? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to check out these videos if you haven't seen them yet. Until next time, let the dragon ride again on the winds of Prime.